Every business decision comes down to a calculation. And right now, in boardrooms and budget meetings across every industry in the world, one specific calculation is being made more frequently than at any point in economic history. Is it cheaper to deploy a machine or employ a person? For most of the last century, that calculation consistently favored the person, not because machines weren't capable, but because deploying them at scale was expensive, complex, and limited to specific narrow tasks. The human was flexible, adaptable, and, relative to the cost of automation, affordable. That balance is shifting. And the speed at which it is shifting is what makes this moment different from anything that came before. To understand what is happening, you need to understand what employing a person actually costs, and what deploying a machine actually costs. When a company employs a human worker, it pays salary. It pays employer national insurance or payroll taxes. It pays pension contributions. It provides sick leave, holiday pay, and in many cases, health care. It invests in training. It manages performance. It deals with turnover, the cost of recruiting, onboarding, and getting a new hire up to speed every time someone leaves. It accommodates human limitations, fatigue, distraction, inconsistency, the occasional bad day. When a company deploys an AI system or a robot, it pays for hardware, software, and electricity. It pays for maintenance. It does not pay sick leave. It does not take holidays. It does not get tired at the end of a shift or distracted on a Monday morning. It does not resign, demand a pay rise, or require management time. This comparison has always existed. What has changed is the cost on one side of it. The cost of deploying AI and automated systems has been falling exponentially. Computing power that cost millions of dollars 20 years ago now costs a fraction of that. AI tools that required teams of specialists to build and operate can now be configured by a single person, or by AI itself. The hardware, the software, and the infrastructure are all getting cheaper at a pace that has no historical precedent. Meanwhile, the cost of employing people has been moving in the opposite direction. Wages, employer contributions, compliance costs, and the general overhead of managing a workforce have been rising steadily in most developed economies. Two lines on a graph moving in opposite directions. And they are crossing, sector by sector, role by role, faster than most people realize. For some industries and some roles, the calculation has already been settled. In customer service, AI tools now handle the majority of first-level interactions at major technology companies, a function that employed significant numbers of people just 5 years ago. The cost per interaction has fallen dramatically. The human agents who remain are handling the cases that genuinely require human judgment. The routine ones are gone. In warehousing and logistics, robotics have transformed the economics of fulfillment. Amazon has deployed over 1 million robots across its operations, not replacing every human worker, but fundamentally changing the ratio of machines to people required to move the same volume of goods. In legal and financial services, AI tools now perform document review, contract analysis, and basic research at a fraction of the cost of junior professional time. The work still happens. The humans doing it are fewer. In each of these cases, the tipping point was not a dramatic announcement. It was a quiet calculation, repeated by individual companies in individual budget cycles until the cumulative effect became visible in hiring data and employment figures. The tipping point does not arrive everywhere at once. It arrives role by role, company by company, sector by sector, which is exactly why most people do not see it coming until it has already happened in their own field. The question worth asking is not whether the lines cross. For most roles in most industries, the direction is not seriously disputed. The question is when, and the answer depends on two variables moving simultaneously. The first is the capability threshold. AI and robotic systems need to be capable enough to perform a role at an acceptable level of quality. For some roles, that threshold was crossed years ago. For others, it has not yet been reached. The task requires physical dexterity, contextual judgment, or human relationship skills that current systems cannot replicate adequately. But the capability threshold is not fixed. It moves as the technology improves, and the technology is improving continuously. The second is the cost threshold. Even when a machine is capable of doing a job, it only makes economic sense to deploy it when the cost of doing so falls below the cost of employing a person to do it instead. This threshold is also moving in the direction of making deployment more attractive every year as hardware and software costs decline. The tipping point for any given role arrives when both thresholds are crossed simultaneously, capable enough and cheap enough. And because both variables are moving in the same direction at the same time, the number of roles reaching their tipping point is accelerating rather than slowing. The employment versus deployment calculation is not a prediction about the future. It is a description of a process that is already underway, visible in hiring patterns, in the restructuring of workforces, and in the quiet disappearance of roles that existed in their current form for decades. What it means for individuals navigating the labor market, for companies making workforce decisions, and for economies trying to maintain employment levels and consumer purchasing power is one of the defining economic questions of the next decade. The calculation is being made right now, in every industry, for every role, and the direction of both variables, falling deployment costs, rising employment costs, suggests that the number of roles where the answer changes is going to grow significantly in the years ahead. Understanding the mechanism is the first step to understanding what comes next. At Macro Breakdown, we break down the economic forces shaping the world, clearly and without the noise. If this video gave you something to think about, subscribe and we will keep covering the stories that matter. Drop any questions in the comments below.